According to Gallup's 2024 workplace report, 68% of American workers are not engaged in their jobs. If you dread Monday mornings, you are in the majority. The solution isn't $1 million. For most people, it's between $12,000 and $24,000. This isn't an emergency fund. It's your walk-away fund. And it's the most powerful check you'll ever write yourself. It's the key to regaining control, to having options, and to silencing that voice of desperation that keeps you chained to a desk you hate. Here's the data-backed method to get it. First, let's diagnose the real problem. Why does your job feel like a trap? The data reveals two powerful reasons, and understanding them is the first step toward breaking free. Let's start with a number that proves you're not imagining things. According to Gallup's 2024 State of the Global Workplace report, a staggering 68% of U.S. employees are either not engaged or actively disengaged at work. Let that sink in. Nearly 7 out of every 10 people you see in the office, on Zoom calls, or commuting alongside you are mentally checked out. They're going through the motions, collecting a paycheck, but their passion, their creativity, and their spirit are being drained. This isn't a personal failure. It's a documented national phenomenon. The feeling of being trapped, of watching the clock, of living for the weekend. That's the modern American work experience for the vast majority. It's a silent epidemic of professional burnout and quiet quitting, driven by toxic work environments, a lack of purpose, and feeling like just another cog in a machine. When you feel this way, it's easy to internalize it, to think, maybe I'm not resilient enough, or this is just how adult life is. But the data tells a different story. The problem isn't you. It's a systemic issue. Recognizing this is incredibly empowering. It shifts the blame from your shoulders and reframes the problem as a puzzle to be solved, not a life sentence to be endured. So why do people stay? If 2/3 of the workforce is unhappy, why isn't there a mass exodus from these soul-crushing jobs? A 2024 bank rate report reveals the answer, and it's the second half of this trap: the financial handcuffs. Their annual emergency savings report from January 2024 found that 56% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense from their savings. Think about that. More than half the country is one unexpected car repair, one medical bill, one broken appliance away from a financial crisis. $1,000. That's not a life-altering catastrophe. It's a routine inconvenience. Yet for most people, it's enough to derail their entire budget and send them into debt. This widespread financial fragility is the anchor that keeps people chained to jobs they despise. You can't afford to quit when you know that your next paycheck is the only thing standing between you and disaster. The fear of the unknown becomes greater than the misery of the known. This creates a powerful, vicious cycle. Your job makes you miserable, but the paycheck it provides is the only thing keeping you financially afloat, so you can't leave. The golden handcuffs aren't just for high-paid executives. They're for anyone whose lifestyle is dependent on a job they can't afford to lose. This constant low-grade financial stress does more than just limit your career options. It has a profound psychological cost. It creates what researchers Sendil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir call a scarcity mindset. In their groundbreaking book, Scarcity: Why Having Too Little Means So Much, they explain that when you're constantly worried about making ends meet, a significant portion of your mental energy, your cognitive bandwidth, is consumed by that stress. You're also running a constant background program in your brain, calculating bills, juggling due dates, and worrying about potential financial shocks. This mental tax makes it nearly impossible to think long-term. You can't plan for a better future when all of your mental resources are dedicated to surviving the present. It becomes difficult to be creative, to learn new skills, to network, or to even imagine a different life. The scarcity mindset keeps you stuck in a reactive mode, putting out fires instead of building a fireproof life. The walk-away fund is the direct antidote to this. It's not just money. It's cognitive bandwidth in a savings account. It's the resource that turns off that stressful background program, freeing up your mind to plan, to dream, and to act. Let's make this real with a story. Meet Jessica. She's 29, a talented graphic designer in a high-pressure agency, earning a solid salary of $62,000 a year. On paper, she's doing well. Her gross salary comes out to about $5,166 a month. But after taxes, rent, student loans, and city living costs, her expenses total around $3,970 each month. She's left with very little wiggle room, constantly feeling like she's living paycheck to paycheck, despite her good income. Creatively, she's completely burnt out. The demanding clients and relentless deadlines have crushed her passion for design. She dreads Monday mornings and feels her skills are stagnating. But with minimal savings, the idea of quitting feels like jumping off a cliff. She feels completely trapped. Initially, she thought this was her fault. I should be better with money, she'd tell herself. But then she saw the data. When she heard that 68% of people felt disengaged just like her, a weight lifted. She wasn't alone. She was part of a national trend. When she learned that 56% of people couldn't handle a $1,000 surprise, her financial anxiety felt less like a personal failing and more like a common struggle. Her problem wasn't a lack of willpower. It was a lack of a buffer. This realization changed everything. The scarcity mindset that kept her feeling hopeless was replaced by a flicker of motivation. Her problem had a name, and it had a data-backed solution: the walk-away fund. Instead of feeling helpless, she was ready to build a plan. Now that we know why you feel stuck, let's build the solution. In the next section, I'll give you a simple 3-step formula to calculate the exact number you need to walk away. Okay, it's time to get tactical. Here's your 3-step formula to calculate your exact walk-away number. This is where we move from understanding the problem to building your escape route. Step 1 is to calculate your bare-bones monthly survival expenses. The key word here is survival. This is not your comfortable living number. This is the absolute minimum you need to cover your essential needs if you had no income. We need a realistic baseline to start, so let's use a credible, data-backed figure. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey from 2023, the average single person's monthly expenses are $3,970. This covers the big four: housing, transportation, food, and healthcare, plus other basic utilities and personal care. For many people, seeing a number like that can be intimidating. It might even feel impossibly high. But this is just a starting point, a national average. Your number will be different. The goal is to personalize it. I want you to pull up your last 3 months of bank and credit card statements and categorize your spending. Be brutally honest. Separate the needs from the wants. Your rent or mortgage? That's a need. Daily takeout coffee? That's a want. Your car payment? A need. The 5 streaming subscriptions you barely use? A want. The goal is to find the leanest version of your budget that allows you to live without extreme stress. It's about cutting the fat, not the bone. Let's go back to Jessica. She starts with that intimidating $3,970 average. It feels overwhelming and makes the idea of saving a large fund seem like a decade-long project, which is incredibly demotivating. But then, she does the work. She spends a Saturday morning with her statements. She realizes she's spending $300 a month on lunches out, $75 on subscriptions she forgot she had, and another $400 on impulse weekend shopping. By committing to packing her lunch, canceling unused services, and planning her weekends more intentionally, she finds her true bare-bones survival number. It isn't $3,970. It's $3,200. This is a game changer. Suddenly, the goal feels closer, more tangible, and more achievable. This exercise isn't about deprivation. It's about clarity. It's about understanding exactly what your freedom costs. Step 2. Choose your freedom timeline. Once you have your bare bones monthly number, you need to decide how many months of freedom you want to buy. We can break this down into 2 main tiers. The first is the 3-month breather fund. This is your emergency eject button. 3 months of expenses gives you enough time to quit a truly toxic job immediately, catch your breath, and start a focused job search without the desperation of a looming rent payment. For Jessica, with her $3,200 number, this would be $9,600. The second tier is the 6-month negotiator fund. This is where you gain real power. 6 months of runway means you're not just looking for another job, you're looking for the right job. It gives you the confidence to negotiate for a higher salary, better benefits, or a more flexible work arrangement. It can even give you the space to take a mini sabbatical, learn a new skill, or start a freelance business on the side. For Jessica, this would be $19,200. While 6 months is an amazing goal, for most people starting out, I recommend a sweet spot, a 4-month timeline. 4 months is substantial enough to eliminate desperation from your job search, giving you a solid buffer to find a quality position. It's a psychologically powerful and financially achievable first target. For Jessica, this became her magic number. $3,200 times 4 equals $12,800. She now has a concrete, personalized, and far less intimidating goal. She's no longer saving a vague, scary amount of money. She is building a $12,800 fund to buy herself 4 months of freedom. Now, before we talk about how to save this money, we need to decide where it will live. This is more important than you think. Let's look at 2 numbers. The place you keep this money can literally be the difference between earning hundreds of dollars a year or earning almost nothing. This brings us to step 3. Put the money somewhere. Smart. Your walkaway fund needs to meet 2 criteria. It must be safe and it must be liquid, meaning you can access it quickly without penalty. This rules out investing it in the stock market, which is too volatile for a short-term goal. The perfect tool for this job is a high-yield savings account, or HYSA. These are typically online-only savings accounts that offer interest rates that are dramatically higher than traditional brick-and-mortar banks. For example, as of December 2024, you can find FDIC-insured HYSAs from banks like CIT Bank or Marcus by Goldman Sachs, offering annual percentage yields, or APYs, of over 5.00%. Now, compare that to the national average savings rate, which, according to the FDIC in December 2024, is just 0.58%. Let's do the math. If you build up a $15,000 fund in an HYSA earning 5.00%, you'll earn $750 in interest in 1 year. In a traditional savings account earning 0.58%, you'll earn just $87. That's a difference of $663 for doing nothing more than choosing the right account. Keeping your freedom fund in a traditional savings account is actively costing you money every single day. Opening an HYSA is one of the easiest and highest impact financial moves you can make. It takes about 10 minutes online and is the proper home for the fund you're about to build. Jessica, now armed with her $12,800 goal, researches WHYSAs and opens an account with CIT Bank. She has a clear target, and she has a smart place to put the money. The once impossible dream of leaving her job now has a number and a plan attached to it. Pause the video and do this quick math for yourself. What's your 4-month number? Drop it in the comments below, even if it's just a rough estimate. Giving your goal a number is the first step to making it real. You have your number. Now for the final and most important piece. The mental toolkit to get you there fast. I have 3 mindsets for you that will transform how you think about money and accelerate your journey to building your walkaway fund. First, I want you to introduce the hours of misery filter. This is a powerful mental model that reframes the cost of your purchases. Your time and your life energy are not. To use this filter, you first need to calculate your real post-tax hourly wage. Don't just divide your salary. Look at your actual take-home pay. Let's use Jessica as our example. Her $62,000 salary is about $5,166 a month before taxes. After federal, state, and FICA taxes, her take-home pay is closer to $3,800 a month. Assuming she works a standard 160 hours a month, her real hourly wage is about $24 per hour. Now, every non-essential purchase gets filtered through this number. Let's say she's tempted by a weekend trip with friends that will cost her $240. Using the old mindset, she might think, it's only $240. But with the hours of misery filter, she does a new calculation. $240 divided by her $24 hourly wage equals 10 hours. That trip doesn't cost $240. It costs 10 hours of her life dealing with that awful client, sitting in pointless meetings and feeling her creativity drain away. Is that weekend trip worth 10 more hours of misery? Almost always the answer is a resounding no. This isn't about guilt or deprivation. It's about conscious spending. It forces you to align your spending with your deepest value, your freedom. When you start seeing a $100 dinner not as $100, but as 4 hours of your life you can't get back, your spending habits change automatically. Second, you need to embrace the concept of psychological compounding. Many people in the personal finance space will argue that every spare dollar should be invested immediately to take advantage of financial compounding. They'll tell you that by keeping $15,000 in cash, you're missing out on potential stock market gains. This is a classic case of FOMO, the fear of missing out. But they are missing a much more powerful and much more important force at this stage of your journey. Psychological compounding. The mental relief, the reduction in anxiety, and the surge of confidence you gain from having your first $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 saved in a safe, liquid account is far more valuable than any potential stock market returns. This fund is the foundation upon which all your future wealth will be built. Investing from a place of fear and scarcity is a recipe for disaster. You're more likely to panic sell during a market downturn if you know you have no other cash buffer. The walk-away fund allows you to invest later from a position of strength and security. It cures a different, more dangerous kind of FOMO. The fear of being controlled. Address the fear of being controlled first. Build your foundation. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you can walk away from a bad situation is a return on investment that no stock market chart can measure. It compounds every day in the form of better sleep, lower stress, and a renewed sense of agency over your own life. Finally, the third tool is the key to making all of this happen. Emphasize automation. Willpower is a finite resource. If you rely on remembering to save money at the end of the month after all your bills are paid, you will fail. There will always be something else to spend it on. The key to success is to remove willpower from the equation entirely. You need to pay your freedom fund first, as if it were your most important bill. Because it is. The moment your paycheck hits your checking account, you should have an automatic transfer set up to move a predetermined amount of money directly into your high-yield savings account. This is a simple one-time setup that takes 15 minutes, but pays dividends for years. You decide on the amount once, and the system takes over. You learn to live on the rest. This simple act rewires your financial behavior. Saving is no longer an afterthought. It's a non-negotiable priority. Let's go back to Jessica one last time. She has her goal of $12,800. She's calculated her hourly wage and is using the hours of misery filter to cut back on impulse spending. She's embraced the idea that this fund is about psychological safety, not missing out on market gains. The final step? She logs into her bank and sets up an automated monthly transfer of $600 from her checking account to her new CIT Bank HYSA, scheduled for the first of every month, the day after she gets paid. That's it. She's created a system. At this rate, she'll hit her $12,800 goal in approximately 21 months. For the first time in years, she feels empowered and in control. She's no longer just surviving. She's actively building her escape route, one automated transfer at a time. She knows she's building a secure base that will make all of her future financial goals, including investing, safer and more successful. You now have the full plan. But before you go, let's lock in the 3 key takeaways and the single most important thing you need to do today. First, let's recap. The feeling of being trapped in your job is not a personal failing. It's a documented crisis, with data from Gallup's 2024 report showing that 68% of your peers feel the same way. Second, your first real step toward freedom and control isn't a complex investment portfolio. It's a simple, powerful 3 to 6 month walk-away fund, calculated using your real, bare-bones expenses. And third, you can get there faster than you think by using powerful mental models like the hours of misery filter to align your spending with your freedom, and by using automation to make saving effortless. Here, immediately after this video ends, take 30 minutes to calculate your bare bones monthly expense number. Get clarity on what your freedom actually costs. For your short-term goal, I want you to open a high-yield savings account this week. It takes 10 minutes, and it is the single best place to house this fund. And for the long term, set up an automated transfer from your checking account to your new HYSA on your very next payday. Pay yourself first. It tells the algorithm that this is valuable information that more people need to see. For more data-backed financial strategies to build the life you want, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And finally, share this video with one friend who you know dreads Monday mornings. You could change the course of their year. This all data is from reputable sources like Gallup, Bankrate, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the FDIC as of late 2024. Please consult with a qualified financial professional for advice tailored to your individual situation. Thank you for watching.